I know, as someone who worked in corporate America for over 20 years, career advancement was always very important to me. The question is, did you know that you can actually use human-centric knowledge to help you with that? Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to season 2 of Leading Intentionally, where we dive deep into the core of what it takes to lead with purpose, passion, and presence. I'm your host, Carmen Paredes, and in this season, we are exploring 3 transformative themes: enduring mindset, exceptional leadership, and empowering your essence. This season, we are on a journey to uncover the mental fortitude required to endure through challenges while maintaining a vision for success. We'll decode the elements that elevate leaders from great to exceptional, those qualities that inspire, motivate, and create lasting impact. And we're embracing the power of authenticity, learning to own your essence in a way that empowers yourself and others. In each episode, we'll share insights, stories, and practical tips to help you transform your leadership style and thrive in both your personal and professional life. So whether you are leading a team, managing a project, or steering your own career, get ready to elevate your approach and lead intentional. Let's get started. Hello. Today in the show, I am so honored to have Dr. Cindy Young with us. She is a career and leadership consultant, and she helps rising professionals and executives who are ready to advance their careers using human-centric knowledge management practices to become better problem solvers and elevate their careers while supporting organizational growth and improving knowledge sharing in the organization. Welcome to the show, Cindy.
Thank you.
Cindy and I know from Speaker Circle, so she's also a speaker like me, but we actually didn't get to know each other that much. So as much for the audience as for me, why don't you tell us a little bit about how did you end up here? Why is this your passion?
Well, I spent 23 years in the Navy, and I worked with different people, different backgrounds, different teams, and I was a leader in some aspects and followers in others. And I just really got to learn about how to work with each other and how to advance. Even though the rules are a little bit different in the military as they are in the civilian sector. So when I retired, I started working for a company, and then I had one of my jobs there was as a knowledge manager, and I realized that was really about collaboration and getting people to share what they knew, and to not keep it to themselves. And then the more I did that, and the more I shared what I knew with my teammates and with people that ended up working for me, I was advanced. I was promoted. I eventually got my, I think, third or fourth promotion there, where I was a division manager. And I'm like, we really need to start getting people to have what my old boss would call forceful backup, which is where you make it where it's possible for people to take leave, take PTO, and just generally have time off without worrying about getting called from work because somebody needs to hear it from you. And that's why out of all the knowledge management practices, knowledge sharing is my favorite. And I've just continued down that path. And so I'm at my current company. I have my company, and I work full time for a big company, about like 44,000 people. My team has 13 people, but those people understand how important knowledge sharing is to me, and they do it really well. And I just try to encourage it. I don't tell them how to do it, but how to make it better for them.
Yeah. A long time ago, when I was young and eager, I'm still eager, but when I was young,
Yeah.
my hair was really black back then. A CEO of a company I work for, because I was that eager. So I was like, I want to go and have a meeting with the CEO and ask them, how do I get to the C level? And he actually gave me very, very useful advice. But one of them was always have your replacement ready.
Yes.
And that comes with knowledge sharing. We're not trying to it all to yourself because they're going to take your job. No, no, no. You want them to be
Right,
able to do your job so you can move on and do other more fun things.
right. I always tell people you'll never get advanced and you'll never get to take vacation and enjoy it if you don't train somebody else how to do your job and
Right.
how to share knowledge, how to have the answers
Yeah.
when you're gone. In fact, on my out of office supply, every time I take PTO, I leave two names. One person that's responsible for our lab and one person that's responsible for our security.
Yeah.
But they both know a lot of answers as well. And I just say, hey, if this person asks this, this is what you tell them, and they feel a lot better. In fact, one of my people on my team said to me that they get more information and knowledge from me than they did anybody else,
Mhm.
and they really enjoy it because I don't make them guess what's going on. I tell them. I tell them
Right.
everything I know. Nothing,
Trans-
nothing that's going to be not like my boss tells me. Don't tell anybody anything, but I do make sure my team knows what's going on.
Well, transparency and integrity are
Hmm.
fundamental parts of leadership because
Yeah,
it builds trust and it helps them know that you're going to be there next to them side by side in goods and bads, and you're not going to be, stabbing them in the back if something doesn't go the right way. And so it starts with communication, clear communication. Yeah.
yeah, and it also helps collaboration and innovation. And my team is great. I love my team, and I've only been at my company for 5 years, but I'm more looking at who's going to replace who's going to retire, because I have some older people that are ready for retirement,
Yeah.
and then the young people that are just coming up, they're like maybe I had a couple people that are not quite 30 yet or just hit 30, and I'm like, wow, I'm getting that. I try not to talk to them like I'm their parent, but sometimes I got to be careful about that. But I do make sure that they know what they need to know to do their job, as well as the job above them.
Yeah.
So,
Today I got a call that it was really humbling because it was an all employee. I retired from my corporate career 2 years ago, 2 years and a quarter ago. And so these people that work for me that, I made into leaders still stay in touch with me. And this person called me to tell me that he had put his resignation today and he was moving to this new company. He was thanking me for all the things I did as a leader. And he only hoped that one day he could be the type of leader I was. And I'm like, is your objective
aw,
to make me cry? Because it's not
that's your
happening.
heart. That is
uh,
so great.
right. It actually, I was like, wow, I didn't expect my Tuesday was going to go this way. This is amazing. Right. But, it only proved the point that we're trying to make here. Right.
Mhm.
I never held anything. I was always, in fact, like, ooh, you want to get promoted. So let's see what are the things
Right.
that I have in my head, in my experience, in my toolbox that you need to sharpen so you can get there. Oh,
Yeah.
you want to be a director. Okay, so let me help you present in front of the, C level. Oh, I'm not ready. Oh, well, you get ready by fire here, right? Like, don't wait
Yeah.
till you're ready to do it. And I find that that's kind of like human centric, at least the way I see it. But I want you
Yeah.
to explain it because it's I care about them,
It
but no,
is.
because I was giving them the pointers and the feedback and how can you do it better and so on. But I want to see, like, from your point of view, because I'm always talking about how all the things that I teach improve productivity, engagement, performance. And I do have
Hmm.
stats to support it, of course. But I always love when other people from other industries,
Sure.
concur with me. So, what have you seen that having a human centric knowledge approach does to an organization in terms of, I mean, everyone wants to make money, right? And so, in terms of
Well,
its
yes.
productivity, etc.
I'm gonna tell a not so good story. It's not about my company, but we were at we were at a building. We were on site with our customer, and there were multiple companies there with multiple different customers. A bunch of offices kind of merged, and the desks were all in the same area. And unfortunately, one of the companies there had a person die on the premises.
Mm.
and he passed away. He was like in his 60s, passed away,
Wow.
and I sat there at my desk and I could hear the people they worked with ask each other, "Well, do you know what he was working on? Do you know, oh God, we're gonna get screwed. We're gonna have to do something. We don't know what he's doing. How are we gonna fix it? Oh, he
Yes.
was working on he was a software developer, and so he's working on this, but I don't know where he stopped or where his material is." And I know they eventually got it figured out because I was there for like another 5 months in that building. But it was very unfortunate, and I remember that because of how bad it was. So one of my examples I always tell my team is, you got to think about what happens if you get hit by a bus.
You know.
You've got to think about it because bad things can happen, unfortunately, and we've seen it with the weather now. People get in car accidents; those people aren't going to be going to work. Especially if it's really bad. But I've always worked, worst case, how do we do it so it doesn't happen, and how do we make our workplace better? And so, that's kind of how I've gone. Is I don't want to have my people standing there going, "Well, what was she working on?" So the first day I started, I made sure I took all my folders and I made sure that they had in there, because we manage classes that come in. We also teach and we build our curriculum. But I manage, for a year's worth of who's coming in the next classes, so that if something does happen, or if I have to go like on emergency vacation somewhere to go see a family member, that people can just look at my files. I have them all uploaded to the OneDrive, and I make them accessible. I rate my calendar is accessible. Um, you know, it just I want to make sure that they have access to my stuff, so I don't have to worry about if I do get hit by a bus.
Yeah. I mean,
But
it's bad enough that when people leave, like plan leave, like I quit my job type of thing,
hmm
you lose so much knowledge. Uh, because it's impossible to document everything, right? You document the progress, you document your projects, but maybe ideas that you had, or you know,
yeah,
new things that you were working on, maybe don't make it. But if on top of that, as you're saying, I mean, life is so fragile. It is. You add, sickness. I mean, you don't have to die, but you could be sick for a little bit,
yeah,
2 3 weeks.
COVID.
Sickness can be, yeah, well, COVID. But,
Yeah,
like as we get younger, there's
sure.
other things that happen to us. And, and you can have the best, most motivated, most reliable employee, you know, get cancer or get, something that needs a surgery, and
hmm
then they are out for weeks or months, and what I mean, business continues, right? And
Right.
then you have the unproductivity or lack of productivity hits, because now people are like afraid and struggling to try to stay on top of tasks.
Yeah.
So you're
And
telling,
I always,
sorry,
I'm
go ahead.
sorry.
No, go ahead.
Um, I talk to my team. I always encourage them if they find a better job elsewhere, because I tell them you should always be looking.
Yeah.
And but if you want to keep looking, do the right thing and make sure that you upload your stuff to shared drive. That way people can access it, and let people know what you're doing as you're doing it.
Yeah.
But also, we can, to prevent people leaving and not be able to, because we're never going to be able to capture everything. The
Mhm.
hardest stuff to capture is the task knowledge or experience from somebody. So
Yes.
I always want people to write down, processes or job aids. When you create job aids, it makes things better.
Yeah.
Right now our lab is doing that. Our computer lab is creating processes on how to update things and how to back things up, or make corrections. But I really want people to work and have a future, but have a future they want.
Right. Well, I mean, the people move, or if you get an
Yeah,
offer you cannot refuse, go for it.
yeah.
Right? Like, so one of the tools that I used to use to make sure we kept knowledge in a centric place were tools like Asana, for instance, or Confluence, where we can document projects, and then
hmm
everyone has access to it in the team, or with certain level of clearance, to say, people
Yeah.
have access to things. But also the other thing I used to do, and at first it could feel tedious because it's like, why are we wasting time listening to other people's projects? But I will have a meeting every week with my entire team, and everyone needed to tell to everybody, not to Carmen, because I knew already what's happening.
Right.
What happening with your project, where you are, what are the obstacles, who are the players. I didn't want to have to do the job if someone leave, right? If something happened to somebody, or if there's a promotion or whatever, I wanted someone else to be able to pick it up. So that was one of my ways. But what is some of the other ways you've seen it's um, productive and successful to be able to share knowledge among teams?
Well, I was doing this for a little while, and right, I've just kind of let things get out of whack with it. So I got to bring it back to doing that again. But what I do like is I like getting everybody on a call because I have some remote workers
Mhm.
as well as some people that work in the office, and so we get a call, and it's something I learned at my last company. We go through and we answer stuff such as what are our current projects, what's the status of them, what do we need help with, um, what you know what kind of things are we planning on doing with the project or projects. Are we having issues with our customers, and when are we going to be taking some vacation, so people know when they're out of office.
Mhm.
And we when we have those calls, it gets goes a little bit long if it's been a while since we had a meeting, which this next one's going to be a little bit long, but it's really good because it gets everybody kind of baselines them again, makes them understand what's going on.
Yeah. In your bio, I didn't read this part, but you mentioned that some ways where you can do this mentoring, but storytelling. And
Hmm.
that really struck to me because I tell stories all the time. But I remember telling people who work for me, like how I was able to move up so quickly and to positions that didn't even make sense. Is because I always wanted to know everything about everything. So it didn't matter, it wasn't my project. If a peer of mine, is someone in like my lateral chain had the project, I was going to make sure I knew. And it wasn't necessarily because I was trying to get their job, but it
Right.
was because I wanted to be useful, because I wanted to learn. I was curious. So, with caring about people, come caring about your company. And curiosity, I believe, is a very easy way to demonstrate that you care, right? Like, are you
Right.
just going to work and punching in and out 8 to 5, right? Or are you trying to make the workplace better?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, our we're very fortunate that we can choose work from home one day a week. So I let my people choose which day they want to work from home, and they've worked out very well within their individual teams. Who's going to be at home what day, and you know, it's storytelling really comes from back when I was in the Navy because we spent a lot of times on watch at night, and we tell, hey, we'll tell us kind of like fishing stories. We tell sea stories, and we learn a little bit, pick up a little bit here and there because every story is always something that's work related, and then you can get back to all the BS. But they really share what's going on, and they've really done really well with problem solving without me getting involved. I just hear about what's going on. So what are you guys gonna do about it? They tell me, and then I check up with them the next day, ask them
Yeah.
what happened. But yeah.
So, so is this something that you, in your company, in your consulting company, is this something
Mhm.
you assist organization, teams, companies? Who is that you help with establishing, I guess, policies, procedures, and ways to get this in place?
Yeah, see, I've kind of because I still work full time. I've kind of stuck to doing. I'm a one person show, so I do digital products that help people to learn how to manage knowledge. I have a course that teaches them how to manage knowledge. Without the technology, they can use technology, but I don't want them relying on technology to do the job and give them all the answers. I
Okay.
want them to talk to each other. Um, because for my definition of knowledge management, there's like over 100, but I call it knowing what to do with the information and data you have. So it's an action that you take,
Hmm.
and so my big thing is now I really want to teach people how to use knowledge management practices, the human-centric ones, so that they can be better leaders and be seen as promotable. Because if they're
Hmm.
not seen as promotable, they're not doing a good job about taking care of themselves. They're
Hmm.
just focusing on what the job is, but if you don't focus on something higher, how are you going to look at going to work? Oh, you're going to hate it. But if you have a goal, that'll help you. So I really want to help people to find those goals and achieve them, and be seen as a leader with their people. So, and because this month is National Mentoring Month, I have an article from HBR about reverse mentoring, because I think it's important for senior leaders and any leaders to be able to see that their junior people can give them some good advice or mentor them on a project, not just tell them how to use their phones better, because that can help them become better leaders as well as their people become better leaders.
Yeah, and I think I feel so much joy, I have to say, not only when I see the people that I mentor succeed in a
Mm-hmm.
professional level, but that they became amazing leaders.
Yes.
Because I was their model, right? But the same way I talk about this in my first TEDx talk, the tale of two leaders. The
Yeah,
amazing one that saved my life and the one that almost killed me. And you learn from both. I
you
never
do.
want to be like this one. And, every time I think of what a good leader is, I think about this other one. And so, I don't know. I love to be able to sleep at night thinking I did my part in the world, and
Hmm.
they were able to achieve their dreams, spend quality time with their families, progress their career, make good money, support an organization, and pass it along, create the ripple
I
effect.
I love that. I love that because it almost makes you feel like a mother hen sometimes. The good way, not being a helicopter mom, but
Yeah.
being the person that helps somebody grow.
Well, that's this is such an amazing topic and important, and so I'm so grateful that you wanted to come in today and talk at, with me at the podcast about it. And so,
Mhm.
how can people find you and read more about your publications and check out your digital courses and so on?
Well, they can go to my website, cjyoungconsulting.com, or they can go to my LinkedIn page, because everything on LinkedIn, it takes them back to my page.
Yes,
You know, and if they want me to come speak to their teams, they can also find my book me to speak page.
beautiful, Cindy. Thank you so much for being here today, and
Thank you for having me.
yeah, and until next time, you guys know the drill. Lead intentionally.